Everyone wants to leave a legacy of positivity in the world around them. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a nonprofit executive director, or even a soon-to-be entrepreneur, one fact is always true. The easiest and most effective way to catalyze change in the world around you is through commerce and through business. But how do you do it? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective, a place where people can come and get educated and encouraged and empowered to be the impact agent in the world around them. Brought to you by Silverback Ventures, Steph Thomas and Scott Woods have over 50 years combined experience helping companies and owners amplify the voice and multiply the impact of purpose-driven businesses. Join us each week as we discuss what it means to live a life of purpose on purpose.
All right, well, welcome back to the Changemakers Collective. I am Scott, this is Steph, and we are incredibly excited to bring in a friend and a fellow crazy purpose-driven person in David Spellmon. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. It is an honor to be here to share the space with you all.
The honor is ours. David and I have known each other for a while. We've been talking about doing some stuff collaboratively together for, I don't know, since the first time we met. I remember us first meeting and we were just like, by the time we got done the meeting, we were like, oh man, what are we doing now? What are we doing now? What are we doing now? And there's this, and we talk about this all the time. There's just certain people you meet that whatever they're doing, you just want to be around it. So tell us a little bit about you, about your journey, how you got from where you grew up to now, because it's a crazy fun journey.
I'll start with this. So in preparation of creating the book and the curriculum, one of the things is understanding who you are. So social emotional learning is what I'm all about. And that has a tie to hip hop. So the original 4 elements of hip hop are the DJ, the MC, graffiti, and breakdancing. There's a less often 5th element, and that is knowledge of self. If you look at any definition of social and emotional learning, it is very synonymous with knowledge of self, knowing who you are, knowing how to manage your emotions, and then how you relate to the world at large. So I'm coined to saying hip hop is social emotional learning. And I say all that to say, in doing the research and doing the studies for the book, I learned that my name means beloved or friend. So the meaning of the name David means beloved or friend. And after finding that out at 31, I had to look back into my life and say, man, the meaning of my name really has driven everything that I'm doing. The story starts back in London, England, surprisingly. The accent is long gone, I'm sorry. Both my parents were in the service. Big up to my mom. She did 23 years in the Navy. My dad did like 8 years in the Army. So it started in England, Stratford, England to be exact, East London. Moved around a bunch. First place I lived in the States was Philadelphia. Went across the country to San Francisco for some time before moving to Guam, which is a U.S. territory.
Some culture shocks.
Yeah,
no culture,
doubt.
Gaining culture, learning how to interact with every single person on this earth, I think has benefited me greatly. Then settled down in Charlotte, North Carolina, about middle school, and been here. Went to college in VA and started in community mental health. Transitioned to K-12, and that has kind of led me to do all the wonderful things I'm doing now.
So this is a fascinating story, and I think you have to work on getting the accent back. Just throwing it out there.
Something I thought about for many years.
Something that'd be very cool to have the accent back, or be able to like turn it on and off would be even better.
I try. It doesn't work.
So, when did you know that you were going to go down the hip hop as a way to teach folks? So yeah, talk a little bit about what that means, that pedagogy, and what that means. And when was that moment where the light bulb went off where you're like, wait a second, this is social emotional learning and hip hop are tied together? Because that's not something that everybody connects the dots with immediately.
To the first point, hopefully the listeners and the viewers have heard of the movie Minority Report. So it came out back in the day, Tom Cruise. It was this whole concept of stopping crime before it happens.
Right.
They had these sentinel beings in like a bath and had these images. So there's one scene that Tom Cruise is like, and it kind of is the precursor for what's going on now with technology. He has on these gloves and he's moving the images around. So to the point, when I heard certain hip hop lyrics, it's like I grabbed them out of the air and I'm like, I could use this in a positive way. Because that's the part of my mission, destigmatizing hip hop for educational consumption, because I am an educator. But to answer the question, it happened for me a long time ago. A Tribe Called Quest, the
Nice.
album
Let's
yeah.
go.
Midnight Marauders. And I just put a post about it on LinkedIn recently.
Let's go.
In one of the interludes, like let's say she's the tour guide of the album, she says the word Marad means to loot. Well, let me give you the stat first. The album is called Midnight Marauders.
Mm-hmm.
So she says 7 times out of 10, we listen to our music at night. Thus spawned the title of this program. The word Marad means to loot. In this case, we loot for ears.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I was a younger person.
You were an ear looter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I never heard this word Marad. Of course, I was probably in grade school. None of my teachers ever taught me this vocabulary word. And now I've went to high school, colleges, done all these different things, and never have I heard the word Marad in school and never knew the definition. Hip hop taught me a vocabulary word. Hip hop, it didn't teach me anything negative. Of course, you can find genres of music that talk about everything. But in that moment, being a child of people who thought education was paramount, I'm like, wow, I learned a word from hip hop. They set it down for me like a teacher would. That's when the light bulb went off for me, like, wow, I love this genre. This is my culture. And of course, it can be used as entertainment because of whatever they talk about. But in this moment, hip hop was my teacher.
Oh, that's good.
That then and there,
That's
I said,
good.
you know what? There's something to this.
It's underappreciated. Those that are good lyricists are underappreciated about how much education and how much volume of content is in a particular song. When you sit back and you go, dude, this is like sitting through a college lecture if you actually are paying attention.
Absolutely.
It's astonishing. So that was an early on childhood moment that kind of just ruminated in the back of your mind until when?
It really sparked off in undergrad. I went to college in Virginia Union University, Richmond, Virginia. So funny story. Charlotte is the 704, Richmond is the 804.
Okay.
So I went from the 704 to the 804. And I think my junior year, I was working as a tutor in Richmond Public Schools. And there I really saw the disparities. Like I love school. My parents didn't play about education, but that's when I learned about disproportionality, which means certain kids, namely Black and brown kids, getting consequence more frequently and more severe. True. And I'm like, man, they need somebody like me. I didn't think to be a teacher, but I'm like, I need to, like, go into LeBron, take my talents to the educational space, because they need somebody that looks like me that they can relate to,
sure,
but that can also kind of be like their mentor, their coach, to keep it with a sports analogy, but coaching them when it comes to these social skills, knowing how to navigate, how to talk appropriately, even when you don't agree with somebody. And that's one thing I learned in undergrad, because I was a psych major. Discourse. It's not a negative thing that we have difference of opinion. It's just how do we convey and have that discussion about, hey, let me hear your points, but let me make mine, and we can both be respectful. So I just knew, man, there's something here for me in education. Once again, had no aspirations of being a teacher. I work with many educators because I do work in a public K-12, but it was like, I never had that moment of, oh, I want to be a teacher when I grow up. I knew I was going to be working with people just because of my upbringing.
I love taking the word discourse and actually bringing it back to what the original definition is. You hear it now in today's 2025, and it automatically evokes confrontation.
Yes.
When that's just simply not true. Let's actually have intelligent conversation so that we can come out and solve problems. We talk about all the time, we're put on this earth to be problem solvers, to be change makers. That's the genesis of the name that we have. And if we're not doing that, then we're contributing to the problem.
Yes.
If we're not being part of the solution, we're contributing to be the part of the problem. And that's why I think you and I, we get along so well, because we're just like, yo, let's actually make something happen.
So right now, the big buzz phrase is emotional intelligence, right? But you were doing that way before with this whole program. Talk to us about how you got, hey, this helped me. I'm going to turn this into a product that can change lives forever.
It started when I was doing community mental health. before there was a curriculum.
Right.
So I've never been a classically trained teacher. I was always using either hip hop lyrics or just popular culture to relate to the students, because that was the genesis of me thinking of turning this into a business.
All in Richmond? Is this
No.
Okay.
So this is when I moved back to Charlotte.
Okay.
But whatever program that the agency was saying, hey, this is how we help kids do better or boost up their social skills, or even when I worked in K-12, hey, this is the curriculum we're using. Oftentimes I would have to modify it to make it make sense to my students, to make it more relatable. And one of my mentors challenged me. He's like, you keep complaining about you having to do all this work. Why don't you just create something of your own? And I'm that person that if you challenge me like that, I'm gonna marinate with it, and then I'm really gonna spend a lot of time and use a lot of gray matter. How can I really conceptualize this? Getting with teachers, I'm like, how do you write a lesson plan? How do you do this? I have the lyrics in mind that help me, and in turn, I knew it could help somebody else. And I'm like, I need to make this into a form that's accepted into the schools. It's not really about
I was going to ask you about that.
Validation.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
If I'm saying I want to reach these students, going back to that situation in undergrad, there's a lot of need in the school. They don't always have the right intervention or the right strategies to support our students.
Or as you're talking, I'm thinking, the motive behind it is not to downgrade, but to lift up. And sometimes I could see where that would have been a challenge for you.
Yeah.
However, I can hear it in your voice.
Well, the educational system is steeped in slow turning wheels. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable how slow things change in the educational system. So you were just like, all right, look, I got to figure out a way to do it because I want to have an impact. How long? Really how was that journey of trying to convince educators who are steeped in, hey, this is the way we've done it for 800 zillion years. Yeah. We're not changing it for nothing. How hard how hard was that to get past some of the
buy-in? It's the buy-in. Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't hard for me because I had been in education for so long. So I understand. I've always had roles, behavior modification, core behavior specialist, those type of roles of looking at the systems to increase either school climate or to reduce negative behaviors. So I understand there's two components when it comes to academics. You have the actual school part, the grades and all of that, but then you have the behavior part. How can what I'm doing with these lyrics, how can I tie it to something of substance that also boosts up their academic status? So when I talk about my curriculum, shameless plug, just like music, social emotional learning inspired by hip hop, I use hip hop lyrics, then connect it to one of the Castle 5 competencies. But when I make the chapter, there is elements of English language arts in there. So the chapter, the first question is always, what is the theme? That boosts up their reading comprehension.
Oh, that's good.
There's vocabulary words. And actually some of the things that we do in each chapter tie into the ELA standards. Something that I learned through this journey is them making like a PowerPoint, them doing stuff with like digital literacy. That's part of their English language arts standards. So I embedded ELA standards into each chapter. So hip hop, social emotional learning with the undercurrent of ELA. That's what makes it relatable to any educator. They can say, oh, this is a supplemental resource, or let's say kids are in ISS, in school suspension. We don't want them just sitting there wasting time. We can utilize your curriculum to boost up their academic status, but also that social skill piece as well.
That helps adoption from the educational standpoint. And you were on the inside, so to speak. So you kind of understood, hey, which of these instructors are going to be much more apt to accept this as an opportunity. And obviously, well, let's talk about it. So you went from creating curriculums to having a book.
Yeah.
So talk about your book.
The book
kind of and the curriculum happen at the same time.
They're the same thing. So the book, it's really three parts to it. The book is the book that has the lesson plans and all of that, which essentially is the curriculum.
And the title of the book is, so let's have a plug here, David.
Let's go.
Come on, man.
Just like music, social emotional learning inspired by hip hop. So based off of the Marvin Gaye track of Long Ago, but then the rendition that really inspired me was the one that Eric Sermon did featuring the lyrics of Marvin Gaye. So just like music, anytime I do any kind of professional development and I'm able to have a DJ there, I have them playing that song.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, because I just love it. So with that being said, the book is the actual curriculum, which has the lesson plans and all of that, the chapters. There's a student workbook that I
Mhm.
created, so every student has something tangible. I know we want to be on Chromebooks all day, but I just seen a report, some studies that we need to get back to kids actually writing,
Yes.
because it activates more parts of their brain
Yes.
and helps them learn more efficiently. And I'm like, I come from that
It
era.
makes them able to read their writing.
Exactly.
Just
Well,
saying.
they don't even do script anymore, but
Right.
I digress.
Yeah.
But then there's also I created a teacher's facilitation PowerPoint. So it's an entire curriculum, the book, the textbook, the student workbook, and then the material for the instructor to guide this learning to take place.
That's so cool.
Who is your customer that you're targeting? If we're talking about being an amplifier for your business,
Mhm.
how do we talk about it? Who is your customer that you need introductions to that you can get in front of?
So I have this ability to look at the macro and the micro at the same time.
Nice.
So to say, who is my target customer? Anybody who serves youth. Now, that's macro. Let's break it down. That could be a nonprofit that focuses on mentoring. That could be a nonprofit that focuses on at-risk youth. That could be a charter school. That could be a public school district. That could be, I just partnered with an organization in San Francisco. They have a Black Literacy Achievement Club. It's a nonprofit. That's what intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
Any organization that serves students, young people, and now I've been doing a lot more with colleges and universities. Just recently spoke at Winthrop to about 60 students. So anybody who serves students, but really who wants to improve those emotional intelligence skills, because it's for everybody. In the school system, we say SELs for those kids that are, living under the poverty line, or kids that don't have the language, it's not their first language. If you look at any definition of social and emotional learning, emotional regulation, goal-setting skills, appropriately solving conflicts. If you have a beating heart in your body, you could benefit from these skills.
1,000%, yes.
Real quick, through COVID, because we saw statistically the downslide of especially our brown and Black community, that the students just became less social, dealt with problems inappropriately, and that came from the social intelligence piece. And then there was no additional help to help them regain that when we mainstreamed all children back into the school space. So how does that play into what you do, and how have you used that to
catalyze
this is a real
everybody,
thing?
catalyze the change?
I have to give a shout out to one of my colleagues, so Alexander Denham. And when we do PDs, he always talks about what did kids learn during that remote learning environment during COVID. Get many responses, and what he says is so profound. They learned autonomy of their learning. I'm at home. If I want to cut on the camera and listen to you, I will. If not, okay. I'll get a lot of my learning through social media, a lot of TikToks and all of that. So why I do what I do is, how can I hook them? So I'm all about this acronym CUE, creating unique experiences. If you've had autonomy for the past 4 years, or however long COVID was, and then we come back to the school, how am I going to get your attention? Because that's the number one currency of our young people. I just told the school staff this. Either they're going to get it in a positive way or a negative way.
Right. But they're going to.
By any means necessary.
Right.
So how can I hook them if their culture is hip hop? And it's funny, when I was talking at Winthrop, and I just let them know, this is one of the top consumed genres of music in the world, but let's focus on the United States. Black people only make up about 15%. So if it's the most widely consumed genre, one of the most, that doesn't mean it's only Black people listening to hip hop.
Come on, let's go.
But, so when I say
that's an important point. That's an important point, though, right? I mean, we have a lot of people trying to segregate us as individuals, when the reality is we are a united country that needs to have. Come on, you're gonna have to cut this out, because I'm gonna go on a diatribe right now. So we need to have a unifying force for good. We have that. You have that opportunity. We have that opportunity to stop the noise and stop the division and build bridges instead of walls. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but man, that makes me crazy.
Because I want to take it back to, once again, the original essence of hip hop. And that's the thing. What hip hop now, the mainstream hip hop, is very different from its inception.
Yes.
The 4 original pillars: peace, love, unity, having fun.
Yep.
I challenge educators to say, if you had those 4 elements in your classroom, how do you think things would go? Oh, I would love it. I'm like, well, that's hip hop. They're like,
Yeah, no, they don't. Yeah, they don't even come. They don't
4
even equate the
pillars:
two.
peace, love, unity, and having fun. That's what we need to do. I seen it on this post on social media, and I can't give the credit to the author, but it said joy and learning should coexist.
Mhm.
I 100% believe that. It's no longer sit there, shut up. I'm the sage on the stage. You're the sponge for this information.
Yep.
No, you have to engage students. They need to take an active role in participating with their learning, because this is a
that's so
different
good.
day and age. And I think with the curriculum that I created, using hip hop to kind of facilitate that learning, I kind of think of it as that, that dog that doesn't want to take that medicine. So you
Mhm.
wrap it in, some meat or some candy.
Right.
It's the medicine and the candy kind of
So you
analogy.
made it more
Yes,
attractive.
exactly.
You are the peanut butter of education.
Exactly. I want you to learn these social skills. I also want you to boost up your literacy, because that's one of the most important things in life.
Yes.
And going back to the Tribe Called Quest, before you make that point, Q-Tip said in the song Check the Rhyme, if knowledge is the key, then just show me the lock.
Yes.
You
let's
have
go.
to know how to read to unlock knowledge. So literacy is important, not just for Black kids, for white kids, Asian
Yeah.
kids, Latino
If you have
kids.
a heartbeat,
Right.
you need to
Well,
know.
we always say leaders are readers. We didn't coin
Oh, my
that. I
goodness.
mean, that's just a known thing. But then we took literacy out of our education.
Yes. Yes.
So if we don't find unique ways that are specific to our youth today,
Mhm.
we're going to have a rough time 10
Well, and they
years
have to
from
be
now.
bite-sized. They have to
Yeah.
be digestible.
Exactly.
All right, so David, I got an important question for you,
Let's go.
because I'm an 80s guy.
You know who Q-Tip is?
I'm a big
He
80s
was a
hip hop
90s though.
kind of guy.
Yeah, I know.
If you had to create a list of those lyricists that you go, these are the ones you need to listen to, and these are the ones I reference the most in my curriculum, who would they be?
Okay.
Because go ahead.
Number one of all time is A Tribe Called Quest.
Mhm.
But I don't reference any of their lyrics. I use it for other stuff, but Phife Dawg had a very profound impact on me, because he was a very intelligent person
Mhm.
that referenced a lot of sports. And that was me. I know it's an oxymoron to say, but I was a smart jock.
Mhm.
Great athlete, AB honor roll, AP classes.
Mhm.
I know that's not everybody's norm. So when Phife would say his metaphors and similes, but then reference sports all the time, that always caught my ear.
Mhm.
But my favorite rapper is a rapper by the name of Fabulous from Brooklyn, New York. So he's the artist I use the most in the book.
All right.
But to say definitely Tribe
Fabulous.
Called
That's
Quest,
funny.
Fabulous. Surprisingly, not Jay-Z or Biggie. That's
Yeah,
the
no,
typical,
because I think the people will immediately assume
or Tupac. There's
Yeah.
no Tupac
Right.
in the book either.
people will immediately assume the most popular artists are the ones that are the best lyricists, which is
That's not
not
true.
necessarily
Yeah.
true.
I'll say this: somebody who was very underrated, and he's actually in the book. So every chapter in the book is the city from which that artist is from.
Okay.
So the third chapter is Detroit. So I use a lyric by Big Sean,
Mm.
and it's all about gratitude. But then there's another lyric that I use by him that I'm going to say right here, that I use in my sessions from time to time, and it's just so profound. Oh my goodness, let me get it right. Letting go of feelings that I used to feel a way about, because some emotions are too taxing to keep paying out.
Come
Oh,
on.
that's really
let's
good.
go.
And that's the thing. I
Yeah.
mean, Big Sean is who he is, but
Right.
that like I said, that Minority Report reference, when I hear a lyric like that, I'm like, boom.
Yep.
I'm going to
Right.
use this later on with students and or staff.
Well, I think we as as old people, I'm speaking myself, obviously, Steph, not you.
Clearly.
But I think there's a tendency for mainstream educators, right? Especially those in the university level, to be like, look, we're going with the classics.
Mm.
We're not bringing anything new. Math is math. English is English. We're going to read Shakespeare and we're going to read these guys, and that's going to be it. And the students are like, look, I don't care about that.
It's
I
funny
don't
you
care
say
about
that,
that.
because the way that I did a division problem looks much different than the way my children did division. So if we are willing to change how we do math,
Precisely.
why aren't we willing to change this?
Let's meet people where they are. And this is true whether you're in education or in business or anywhere. You've got to meet people where they are and talk the language that they're receiving. Otherwise, we talk all the time. You can't expect a cat to act like a dog.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, you don't know. I can't hold that against you. We also say if you're ignorant about a situation, especially coming up as an entrepreneur, you got to ask somebody. Like, if you stay in that spot of ignorance and do nothing but complain that you don't know, that's on you, not on everybody else that you're calling out.
So I asked educators, especially who have been in the game for some time, do you still drive the same car as you did when you started teaching? No. You were able to learn how to use a smartphone, but then your pedagogy never changed. And this is how I joke with them. I said, some of y'all don't have the same spouse as you did. And then they're like, oh, so you learn how to adjust and adapt.
Right.
But when it comes to your teaching style,
right, you
it
won't
doesn't
adapt.
change. And
Right.
that, you know, of course, it's that moment of reflection. But to the point, education is the way it looked when it's in its inception. You know, the Industrial Revolution, we wanted to create workers and not free thinkers. And it very much looks like the way.
Go back. Say that again.
The public school system was designed to create workers. They were building factories. We needed people to Pavlov's, dog.
Right.
Ring the bell. Oh, now you're on lunch break. Ring the bell. Now you got to come back to your assembly line job. But it was designed to create workers and not free thinkers. Free thinkers are the entrepreneurs. Free thinkers are the people who really run the world in, most cases. But in the environment of education, it's like, you have to do it this way. We must stay on this pacing guide and, do all the things when not everybody learns like that. We understand it in education. There's different learning styles, but yet we have one way of teaching the masses.
Well, and I think it's so interesting you say that, though, because we're in a spot where you have probably more entrepreneurially minded young people than ever before, because there's never been more ways to make money.
Absolutely.
And yet you have brought them up in a way, and maybe this is good for us because we get to work with all those folks, but you brought them up in a way where that's not their norm. They're not free thinking. They're not.
Well, that's why people are afraid to start businesses.
They're not vision casting folks.
Ooh, vision. And being able
don't get
me started, Scott.
Being able to kind of foster that. Again, this is why we get along so well, because once you start seeing it happen and the light bulbs going off, I literally, you can't see this on the camera, but I got goosebumps just talking about it, because I'm like,
not race
I
specific.
know, of course not. No,
thank you.
I know I'm going to go on Monday and speak to this group of students, and they're all going to ask me about being an entrepreneur, and we're going to be able to talk about discourse. We're talking about having conversations around hard topics. And being able to think through how we're going to solve problems and how we're going to change the world only happens in an entrepreneurial mindset. And until you can see what could be and not what is, you're never going to be able to change.
But that's the vision. That's the vision. It's funny. I just saw this video online on YouTube, and it talked about our reality is just a perception. Like, our brain processes what the possibilities could be. And they were using an example of people playing ping pong. And it's like, your brain is processing, if the ball comes here, where might you have to position? But then when you actually make the motion, the brain has chosen that one outcome, but it's done like a simulation of all these different things. But to say, I say all that to say, when you become an entrepreneur, you have to have vision of the possibilities, because what has already been out to the world is why we're in the positions that we are. So if you want to do something, if you want something different, you have to do something different, which requires vision, which requires courage to say, okay, this is how we've always done it, but why aren't we doing it this way?
We were talking to a different educator, and they were talking about just the understanding that you teach kids from kindergarten through 12th grade to not share your work, not co-collaborate, not to cheat, and then you dump them into a work environment and say, well, why didn't you collaborate?
Yep.
Well, why didn't you Google that? Why didn't you use AI? The things that you are saying could absolutely change the innovation of a child just by going through this.
So then that leads to what's next?
What's next?
How do we take what you're doing and
make it happen
100 times it?
Right now, I'm in the process of doing like a more formal research study, because being a psych major, I understand the importance of quantitative data. So you have the qualitative, more anecdotal, surveys, testimonies, which is awesome, word of mouth type stuff. But to get, let's say, certain kinds of funding to be accepted in certain environments, they want to see, okay, you've done this with your control group, with your experimental group. What's the Or how much percentage did referrals reduce? Okay, maybe some reading scores did increase. What is that concrete number? So right now, to bump it up a notch, we're going through the application process to do formal research, to get white papers created, to show the effectiveness or the lack of effectiveness, which we know is going to be effective, of the curriculum.
And then the ultimate goal, when you sit back and say, all things coming together in the most perfect way, what do you see? You see this curriculum, and I'm putting words in your mouth, but we've talked enough that I know this is the case. We see this being a norm within education across the board, yeah?
Across the board, across the world, because I even use international artists. There's Toronto represented in the book. There's Lagos, Nigeria represented in the book. Ibiza in Spain. I want to have collaborations with many organizations in each city that I reference.
I love that.
Yes.
That is so cool.
I love that. How can we and how can the community support you?
I would say if you know anybody who's serving young people, whether they are secondary students, middle school, high school, or even in higher ed, but those educators too. I do a lot of work with the educators because to the point of going to higher ed, they are very one track minded, and the kids don't get older, they get younger. So if I'm only going to talk about certain things, there's going to be a larger disconnect as I have my tenure. So I need to talk to those educators who are working with youth as well as the youth that are coming up. Because one thing that's unique in my curriculum that a lot of people have praised me on is, well, Spell, your artists are the ones of your time. Every chapter has a challenge. So the first chapter is Philadelphia, and I take a popular song from Meek Mill that has became like the Eagles fight song. It's a song called Dreams and Nightmares, and it's very popular. But at the end of it, we talk about how what Meek said in the intro compares to goal setting. The challenge at the end of each chapter, for example, Philadelphia, young person, who was the artist of your day? What song or what lyrics do they have that talk about goal setting?
That makes it very relative.
So now it's intergenerational. So yeah, that right there is how I take it.
Then they learn that all the samples come from our generation.
Oh yeah,
that's true. Come on. I'm not going to go down
I have to agree with you because my parents had me listen to Motown.
Yes.
So I love Stevie Wonder is my favorite music artist of all time. So yes, I have favorite rappers
too.
But Stevie Wonder all time. I understand Michael Jackson, Prince. I get it. Stevie Wonder is number one in my book.
Stevie Wonder's pride.
But knowing those records, like actual vinyls, vinyl records, and hearing songs of my generation, I'm like, I know this bass line. I've heard this lyric. That's so and so, and they're like, "How do you know that?" I'm like, my parents raised me on Motown. They raised me on good music.
Oh,
that just means we're old, by the way.
No,
that just means
when they say keep living, keep living.
Yeah, no, I mean that, but it's cool that we are able to, and I can see a situation where as you are continuing to teach these students, and as it's part of the mainstream curriculum, they could be feeding back into the next generation of curriculum with new songs and new artists, so that it becomes a multiplication. And it's not just you sourcing all this music all by yourself.
I want to take that one step higher. So when I created the curriculum, it is self-published, but I created my own publishing company. Wow. So it's everything it's just this thing of all money in. I don't want anybody outside having any influence. I'm going to do this, from the ground up. So when I created the book, I bought 10 ISBNs, which is your book's social security number.
Yep.
I just learned that.
One of my biggest goals for this year, I made another post. I want to help 3 young people become published authors.
Wow.
So hopefully they are already writing and they have a good support system because I do a lot. So I need a young person with a strong support system, and I want to help them get to finish to being published authors.
We know, and we say as part of our tagline, we want to live a life of purpose, on purpose, and we want to be surrounded by people that are doing the same thing. So is there anything else that we need to know about you, or how can we help you, or anything you just want to leave drop a lyric on us as we roll out?
I will leave this for everybody listening. There is an affirmation in each chapter of the book, and I feel like it was given to me by my parents. I move with conviction because I come from a strong tree. My mother and my father,
that's good.
They are my power source. I am equal parts my mother and my father. The hardworking, dedication, that's both of them. The kindness that I have, that's my mother. But that hardworking, no nonsense, tenacious, that's my father. That's my father. So the affirmation that they kind of gave me, they never said it in quite these words, but it's what I take away from it. You know, it's my story. His story is my story.
Right.
Let's go.
You have greatness inside of you.
Yes.
That's in every chapter. And that's not just for my students, that's for every single person. But here's the challenge. If I'm telling you you have greatness inside of you, how do you manifest and showcase it to the world?
Yes.
That's your challenge.
It has to come out.
What is your greatness? It looks different for everybody.
Yes.
But once you find it, you better try your damnedest before you leave this earth to manifest it and showcase it to the world. Because that's why he gave it to you.
Yes.
He didn't give it to you for you just to keep it hidden and lay dormant.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've always heard growing up is some of the best ideas are in the cemetery from people who are too scared to take action. You have to take action. You have to find your greatness. And once you identify it, you have to illuminate the world with it.
I think being a part of a socially aware, being a part of a system, if we don't tell people more and more often that, then the great ideas that can change the world do end up going to the wayside.
You've got the
thank you for the courage.
Yeah, and you've got a whole society that does nothing but compare each other, right? And you end up with people saying, "I'm not good enough," when the reality is, we all know you're amazing, and you have incredible opportunity inside you, and your job is to just get it out.
See, you wanted me to leave it with the lyrics, so I go by another one from Phife Dawg. This one is coming from a war tour. And Phife said, "I never let a statue tell me how nice I am."
Oh,
so just because you didn't win the award, you didn't get the promotion that go around, that doesn't diminish your greatness. Because we know sometimes it's the powers at play. But once you start to doubt yourself, now you're not showing up 100%.
Right.
So never let a statue tell you how nice you are.
Good.
Come on,
good.
let's
Thank
go.
You so
This
much.
is David Spellmon. He's awesome. You need to buy his book. You need to hire him to come and teach your school how to do education in a much more efficient and effective manner. I am so, so grateful, my friend, that we were able to spend this time together.
Once again, I thank you guys for the opportunity. And it's a pleasure, like being able to say these words for an ear that may not have heard it otherwise. I'm very appreciative.
Thank you.
We're blessed. Thank you. Till next time.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.